Hey folks, Quill18 here, and welcome to another episode of me losing at StarCraft 2 because I'm answering questions. It's the StarCraft 2 Heart of the Swarm beta, so we're going to goof around, play some new units, and just, I don't know, do things for the lulz. I think this time I'll do only Banelings. Only Banelings this time, because Banelings are awesome! And the question I'm going to talk about, someone asked me if I liked scotch, and yes, so I'm going to talk about booze in general. So this video will be rated AA14. Yeah, I didn't drink at all. Well, I drank like a little bit here and there, you know, little tasters from time to time when I was younger. And then basically I didn't drink at all until I was 30. And that was good. And then at some point decided to, yeah, whoa, what is this map? Oh, Cloud Kingdom. I've never actually played on Cloud Kingdom. I've only ever seen it in the GSL. And then decided, you know, like, what the hell, let's give some of this thing a try. And one of the very first things I had, actually, which I don't really recommend to people, is scotch. And the reason I don't recommend it, not because it's like, you know, oh, it's dangerous or whatever. No, it can taste nasty to the unprepared. Like, scotch is strong ass tasting stuff. I don't think you can get drunk on it like your first time because you're just not going to be able to swallow that much of it. But as it turns out, I really like strong flavors. I like blue cheese. I like olives. I like sardines. I like really intense flavors. So as it turned out, I really enjoyed it. One nice thing about scotch is it's so expensive that you can't really get stupid on it unless you're incredibly wealthy. So it's got a sort of built-in limiter. I mean, I guess, you know, you're sort of cheaper blended scotch. Not that blended scotch is bad, but it's less expensive, for example. But you know, the stuff that tastes better, the single malt stuff, is definitely pricey. So yes, I enjoy scotch quite a bit, and the thing that I like about it is each kind tastes radically different. It's not necessarily that the more expensive stuff. What am I building? Oh, Banelings, right. It's not that the most expensive stuff is necessarily the best tasting. Although, I mean, you know, there's certainly some of that. And it's the same with wine. Like, there's a lot of cheap wine. Where's my natural? Here it is. A lot of cheap wine often wins quite high ratings at tasting competitions when, you know, things are like anonymous and blindfold and all that. The reason that you might go for a more expensive thing is because it actually tastes different. And, you know, it's a novelty kind of thing. More than anything else. Let's go up to 17 and then go for it. You know, so you want a different experience, and that requires sort of breaking out of a certain price point to see, you know, to get different flavors, right? That's all it is. It's like if you have chicken all the time. There's nothing wrong with chicken at all, but unless, you know, you're a vegetarian, in which case there's lots wrong with chicken. But other than that, there's nothing wrong with chicken. But, you know, sometimes you'll get bored of it, so you'll have beef. And the thing is, like, lobster used to be considered, like, cheapo food. Lobster was poor people food. It was like bologna, right? I mean, first of all, the thing looks disgusting. Who would possibly want to eat that? But, you know, the reason that people like it is because it's a different thing. It's a change. I should double check to see if I'm being cannon rushed or something like that, but I highly doubt it. Okay. So let's go Queen, Overlord, on that. I maybe need more gas. So yeah, so scotch. So I really like, because I like strong flavors, I'm quite a big fan of the Islay scotches. So there's a whiskey, right? And whiskey, I don't know. The thing is, I know that like 3/4 of you guys are like 14 years old, so this is not maybe appropriate conversation, but fuck it. I'm also cursing, and who cares, right? Alcohol, booze. So, what? Why don't I have a queen here? Alcohol is made by distilling or fermenting things, right? So you introduce certain bacteria, and it takes certain, you know, foodstuffs and converts it into alcohol. It's the same principle for all of it. And so when you do certain types of grain, put them in a certain type of process, you'll get pure alcohol. But it actually won't be pure. You've got to distill it, which is where you take the water and you sort of, I don't know, you kind of evaporate it away and you capture some of the stuff that's evaporated, and then you get a pure product, and then you do that a few times. And that's the same for like most spirits, vodkas, gin. Well, gin is basically vodka with flavor added to it. And then with things like whiskeys, I'm so not paying attention to this game. It depends on the grain that's used and then what you do with it afterwards, which is mostly putting it in barrels to age it. I don't even know where my opponent is, which is so awesome. When you're doing a sort of like Baneling craziness. I mean, it's not going to be a Baneling rush. It's just lots of Banelings because Banelings are awesome. So yeah, whiskey, you put it in barrels and you age it for a certain amount of time, because the reason is alcohol, when it comes out of just the distilling process, is clear and mostly tasteless. What taste is there is awful. So what you do is you put it in these wood barrels, and over time, certain flavors get leached out of the wood and go into the booze and give it flavor. Zerglings. Macrohatch. Got speed, good. You know what, let's go up to this because we're going to want Baneling speed. Zerglings. I have a Baneling up? When did I build the Baneling? So yeah, so the barrels give it flavor. And there's certain types of barrels that are used and for different drinks. So all whiskeys are basically like that. And then Scotch is a particular type of whiskey that is made in Scotland. And it follows rules based on what type of grains can be added. Like corn versus wheat versus barley versus, I don't know, whatever the fuck else. And it basically just gets made with barley, unless I'm wrong. And then it gets aged very specifically. It can't be in a new cask. It's not allowed. It has to be in a cask. See, these people are using their fancy tricks. I'm just going to roll over them with Banelings. It has to be in a cask that was used once already. And the rules are, it has to be either a white oak cask that was used to make bourbon, or a red oak cask that was used to make sherry. And that's what makes Scotch Scotch. It also has to be aged for like a minimum of X number of years. And wasn't I going to make Banelings? Apparently we got engaged a little before that could happen. So, not only that, but there's 4 major regions of Scotland that make Scotch. And while each distillery, because they use a slightly different process, has a slightly different and unique flavor, each region tends to have a particular overriding flavor based on the specific grain they use and the process they use to treat the grain before it goes into the still and things like that. Arguably even like the water they use and all kinds of things. So, Banelings are probably the stupidest unit to use against Protoss. Like, out of like the races I could have picked for this sort of strategy, this is probably the dumbest. But hey, Banelings are awesome. So, the regions, they're the Highlands, Lowlands, Speyside, and... no, that's wrong. The Highlands, Speyside, Islay, and then there's like one more. Something, somewhere, I can't remember what it is. The big ones are the Highlands and Islay. Even though Islay is really small. The deal with Islay is that the scotches from there are super peaty. They're very smoky. They kind of smell and taste like you're sucking on a campfire. And for some reason, people like this. In particular, I do. I need more Vespine gas. Did you guys hear that? Oh, GG. Yeah, it tastes like you're sucking on a campfire. And that's why you don't take scotch as like your first drink, because you're going to have this and it'll be terrible. Or if your intention is like to avoid becoming an alcoholic, then I highly recommend having scotch as your first drink, because then you won't drink anymore. So that's my advice on booze. Keep watching, kids. You'll learn things.